Ayan. Okay. Please tell Mr. Ching, no? Mr. Emerick. Oh, it is a glitch in Gmail. Gmail, in Gmeet. Kung magre-record, may mawawala. So please tell him just to get back. Okay tayo? Sige. We are now recording the session. So for today, we're going to talk about financial statements. Okay? We're going to talk about financial statements. So let's begin. Financial statements. These are a structured representation of the financial position and financial performance of an entity. So the standards definition of financial statements is that it's a structured representation of the financial position and financial performance of an entity. So what's the objective of financial statements? The objective of financial statements is to provide info about the financial position, financial performance, and cash flows of an entity that is useful to a wide range of users. Highlight the words wide range of users. The phrase wide range of users denote that it is a general purpose report. It is a general purpose report in making economic decisions. They also show the results of the management's stewardship of the resources entrusted to it. Yung mga manager ba, ginawa ba nila yung trabaho nila? The financial statements will give us an idea, will help us answer that question as well. Okay, so what are financial statements? It is a structured representation of the financial position and financial performance of an entity. What's the objective? To provide info about the position, performance, and cash flows of the entity, useful to a wide range of users. That's why this is called general purpose in making economic decisions. Okay? So for example, if you are the owner of the company, you are the investor. So ultimately, the investor is the owner of the company. Okay? Investor, shareholders, yun yung owner ng company. Okay? So shareholders or stockholders, they are the owners of the company. So in the case of a sole proprietorship, kasi basic pa lang naman tayo, the owner itself will be able to make decisions like whether or not to invest more or to give up on the business, making economic decisions. Aside from that, if the management of the company is separate from ownership, so this is common sometimes in publicly listed companies, the owner and the manager positions, they are distinct, no? Yung owner hindi siya yung manager. Yung manager hindi siya yung owner. So si manager dapat accountable siya kay owner. Okay? So the financial statements will also show the results of management stewardship of the resources entrusted to it. Now, to meet this objective, yung objective ng FS, the financial statements provide info about an entity's assets, liabilities, and equity. You will see these things in the balance sheet. Okay? Assets, liabilities, and equity. Then it will also show information about income and expenses, including gains and losses, which is shown in your income statement. So income and expense, including gains and losses, shown in your income statement. Contributions by and distributions to owners in their capacity as owners. Statement of changes in equity. We call that the statement of changes in equity. Then the cash flows, we have a separate statement of cash flows. So A, B, and C, they can be found in the balance sheet. Dog, D for dog, this can be found in the income statement. E, statement of changes in shareholders' equity. F, statement of cash flows. This along with other info in the notes. So there are notes to the financial statements. I believe you already know that. Assist users of financial statements in predicting the entity's future cash flows, and in particular, their timing and certainty. So to FS, together with the notes to the FS, together with the notes to the FS, assist users of the FS in predicting the entity's future cash flows and their timing and certainty. Okay? So anong laman ng complete set of FSS? What's the contents of this complete set of FSS? So the complete set of financial statements include the following. A statement of financial position as at the end of the period. Okay, does anyone know what this is? What's the common name for this one? What's the common name for this one? Anyone? Can anyone tell me what's the common name for this one? Anyone? Anyone? Ayun, may nag-reply. Okay, yeah, this is the balance sheet, no? The statement of financial position. This is the technical term for the balance sheet in accounting parlance, no? Sa accounting, tinatawag natin tong statement of financial position, but we can still call it the balance sheet. B, a statement of comprehensive income for the period. Now, the statement of comprehensive income and the income statement are not the same. The income statement can be part of the statement of comprehensive income. Okay? Yung income statement, pwede lang yan maging parte ng statement of comprehensive income. Pero kung maliit lang negosyo mo, wala kang tinatawag na OCI, other comprehensive income. If there's no other comprehensive income, then your income statement will be more or less the same as the statement of comprehensive income. So let me repeat. The income statement, as you know it, is only part of the statement of comprehensive income. Aside from the income statement, the statement of comprehensive income also includes other comprehensive income. It also includes other comprehensive income. C, a statement of changes in equity for the period. Changes in the ownerships, in contribution and distribution sa owner, no? Changes in the position of the owner. Shall I say the capital of the owner? Then letter dog, statement of cash flows for the period. And do not forget the notes to the financial statement. The notes to the financial statement comprises of the summary of significant accounting policies and other explanatory information. Okay? And, okay. Now, if you're going to present this, no, pagdating sa actual practice, yung balance sheet nyo, as at the beginning of the earliest comparative period, when an entity applies an accounting policy retrospectively, or makes a retrospective restatement of items in its FS, or when it reclassifies item in its FS. Okay, this is a bit too technical, and this is more of accounting. Now, if ever there is a change in accounting policy, example, yung FIFO, ginawa niyong weighted average. Do you follow? Alam niyo yung FIFO at weighted average? Hindi niyo alam yung FIFO at weighted average. Sige, be honest. How about the rest? Hindi niyo alam yung FIFO at weighted average. Okay lang. So I'm going to give a more common example. So in basic accounting, meron tayong mga accounting policies, di ba? Meron tayong mga accounting policies. So FIFO, yung inventory na una mong binili, ina-assume natin yun yung unang mabebenta. Okay? So the first inventory that you bought, let's say it was bought at a lower price, it will be the one to be sold first. The next inventory that will be sold is the second one. First in, first out. No? But sometimes, mas accurate yung weighted average. Ano yung weighted average? You're going to take the average cost of all inventory you have from the earliest to the latest, and i-assume nyo yung cost ng inventory na nabenta will be the average of such. Okay, kung hindi nyo naintindihan, it's okay. It is accounting. Okay? It's already under the scope of accounting. My point being is that when we present information, we make conventions. We call those accounting policies. So we will need to provide the balance sheet at the beginning of the earliest comparative period when an entity applies an accounting policy retrospectively, makes a retrospective restatement of items in the FS, or when it reclassifies items in its FS. Okay? So if there are changes in the presentation, changes in the accounting convention, we have to provide a balance sheet as at the beginning of the earliest comparative period. Okay? As at the beginning of the earliest comparative period. So again, statement of financial position, this is the balance sheet. Statement of comprehensive income includes the income statement. Statement of changes in equity, ano yung mga distribution sa owner, ano yung additional capital provided by the owner. Statement of cash flows for the period. So we're talking about cash inflows and cash outflows. And then notes comprising of these items. Are there any questions so far? Are there any questions so far? Okay, walang question? Clear yan? Okay. So, huwag niyo munang pansinin yung letter F kasi masyado na tong accounting, no? Okay. Next, balance sheet. So, let's go to the details of each type of financial statement. So, when I say the word financial statement, it refers to the set and the individual statements. So, dalawang ibig sabihin ng financial statement. Financial statements can mean all of them or one of them. Okay? So the first financial statement that I would like to talk about would be the balance sheet. Okay? It would be the balance sheet. So the balance sheet is a snapshot at a single point in time of the company's accounts, covering its assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity. For those of you who are wondering, shareholders means owners, no? It means the owners. Now, in the corporation, the shareholders are the owners of the company. And that's why you would encounter this word more than the word owners equity, no? Or capital, which you have learned in basic accounting. So, it is a snapshot. Compared to other financial statements, diba? For the period, the balance sheet or statement of financial position is as at the end of the period. It is a snapshot. What does it mean? It means that it is a year-end balance. Okay? You would encounter the words as of December 31, 2020. Tama ba? The balance sheet as of December 31, 2020. If it is British, the balance sheet of the company as at December 31, 2020. Iba yung American English tsaka British English, no? Kung American, which we are commonly accustomed to, as of December 31, in British, it is as at, no? As at December 31. Okay? As at year-end or as of year-end, depending on whether you're using American or British English. Anyway, so as at year-end or as of year-end, pagka tapos ng araw na yon, December 31, New Year yon, di ba? Okay? Magkano yung assets natin? Magkano yung liabilities? At magkano yung equity? The balance sheet shows a snapshot of such. Okay? So you have here your assets as of year-end, liabilities, and equity as of year-end. It only describes what is happening at that point of time, no? That end of the business day, December 31, magkano yung assets na meron tayo? Magkano yung liabilities na inutang natin? Magkano yung pera natin sa loob ng company? Okay? Few reminders. Always remember, reminders lang ha, that our money and the money of the company, they are distinct from one another. So is with other assets. So our machines, our equipment, and the equipment of the business, they are separated. We call that the accounting entity principle. No? So we have a separate accounting entity from its owners. Okay? So, balance sheet of company XYZ. Balance sheet of company XYZ. Okay. Sa palagay niyo, ano yung magiging unang transaction ng company? Ano yung magiging unang transaction ng company? Okay? The owner will invest. Okay? Capital, no? Initial investment. So what happens here is that there will be a credit to owner's equity and a debit to assets, no? Yung cash. Okay, paano kapag kulang yung pagmamay-ari nating pera? We are the owners, no? Let's say we are the owners. What if, no? What if our money is not enough to start the business? What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Yeah, a bank loan would do. So very good. So it will be a credit to owner's equity, our capital, in the case of a proprietorship, as well as a credit to debt. We may have a bank loan and a debit to cash, okay, which is an asset. Okay? So how does the company look like now? Okay? Ano yung itsura ng company? Our company has assets. Okay? The company has assets in the form of cash. It uses its resources to form simply cash. No? Merong cash. So what's the source of capital? The source of capital came from our own money and we borrowed from the bank. So just an example, no? Let's say our business is worth 1 million pesos. So this is 1 million pesos. Meron tayong 500,000 debt, 500,000 owner's equity. Okay? At this point in time, the balance sheet tells us what the company controls. In this case, the company controls cash. In this case, the company controls cash, which is an asset, and the sources of these assets. Where did the funds for this came from? It came from liabilities in the form of debt, bank loans. It came from our own pockets, owner's equity. Malinaw ba sa inyo kung anong pinapakita ng balance sheet? Is it clear to you what the balance sheet is showing to us? Okay. Yung binigay kong materials pala sa inyo, please be careful ha. Baliktad data sa kanila, no? Doon sa comics type na lecture, yung binigay ko sa inyo yung comics type. Nasa right side yung assets, no? Nasa left side yung owners. Anyway, ano lang yun? Ganun lang yun, no? Ganun lang yung paggawa nila ng comics. But the balance sheet, it should be the left side, no? Yung assets. And then the right side would be your liabilities and equity. Okay? So, we refer to debt and owner's equity as capital. In finance, debt is also a form of capital. Hindi ba sa accounting, ang turo sa inyo, pag capital, owner's capital yon, no? Owner's equity. Sa finance, whether it came from debt or owner's equity, we use the word capital. So the mix of debt and owner's equity, we call it the capital structure. If this is 500K and this is 500K, they are of equal amount. The capital structure is 1:1 or 50-50, no? The capital structure is 50% debt, 50% owner's equity. Okay? So let me repeat. In accounting, debt is a liability. In finance, debt is a liability, but it is also called part of your capital. Kung gusto niyo yung owner's capital lang, ang tawag natin doon, owner's equity. The combination of debt and owner's equity, what's the ratio and proportion? We refer to it as capital structure. The combination of debt and owner's equity, we refer to it as capital structure. Okay ba tayo doon? So huwag kayong maguluhan ha. Pag tinanong ko yung capital structure, ano yung combination ng debt at owner's equity? Sa accounting kasi yung capital, equity lang, no? Sa finance, the word capital refers both to debt and owner's equity. So what's the mix, the ratio or proportion of debt to equity? Refer to your capital structure. Refer to your capital structure. Do you have any questions so far? Please interrupt me anytime. If you have any questions, please interrupt me anytime. Kung meron kayong marinig na terms na hindi na kayo nakakagets, sabihin nyo agad. Ha? Okay? So what's a balance sheet? It is a snapshot at a single point in time of the company's accounts covering its assets, liabilities, and shareholders' equity. This is what the balance sheet is all about. Okay? Ngayon, let's get down to business. Okay? Let's get down to business. Anong gagawin natin sa cash natin? Let's say we're going to open a buy and sell type of business. Merchandise type of business. Anong gagawin natin sa cash natin na assets? Okay, bibili tayo ng stocks. When you say stocks, we mean merchandise. That's very good. Yeah, that's correct. We're going to buy, no? We're going to buy inventory, no? Purchase or buy inventory or stocks. Okay ba? What if we're a manufacturing company? Anong gagawin natin pag manufacturing company? What will we buy pag manufacturing company? Okay, raw materials. Ano yung gagamitin natin para yung raw materials matapos natin? Mabuo natin yung raw materials. Ano yung babilhin natin? We will need equipment. Okay, labor and machines. Yeah, equipment or machines. Okay? So, we're going to reduce our cash. Okay? So, we're going to credit cash and debit whatever we will buy. Okay? So, if we're going to have a reduction in cash, credit to cash, debit to inventory, and whatever machines we're going to buy. No? These are the assets of the company. Okay? These are the assets of the company. Okay. Please give me 1 minute. Please give me 1 minute. Okay, so going back, we have just bought the necessary items for our business. We bought raw materials in the case of manufacturing company. raw materials, and then we're going to need some machines, equipment in order to keep these materials moving. Okay? So, yung cash, balewala yung cash, no? Yung cash na yan, kapag nakatenga, balewala yan. Okay? Cash that is not being used is just being idle. It is a waste. So when we're going to open a business, there should be some activity. Okay? Whether we buy and sell, that's merchandising, or we're going to manufacture something, a manufacturing company. If there are no tangible assets involved, we are going to open a business to offer services. Puro lang mga labor yung work in process yung magiging inventory natin. Okay? Now, I'm going to use the following terms. Okay? If we're going to purchase inventory, we're going to sell it. Okay? When we will sell it, it becomes what we call accounts receivable. Unless nakolekta na natin agad. No? Kung wala namang nakolekta pa, we simply call it accounts receivable. Kung nakolekta na, magiging cash siya. No? Then the cash will be used to buy inventory. The inventory will be sold when it is already completed. And once sold, it becomes a receivable and it will be collected. Okay? We call that the operating cycle. So, I hope you're able to absorb our lesson on operating cycle, ha? Diniscuss natin itong operating cycle na to, ha? Kung ano man itong ibig sabihin nito, ng operating cycle. Okay lang? Sige. So, now, having said that, meron tayong assets, okay? Those assets that move together in the operating cycle, we call that working capital. It's also possible that when you buy inventory, you will not pay immediately. Hindi mawawala yung cash agad. Why? There is what we call trade payable or accounts payable. Okay? Aside from our sources of capital, on the right side of the balance sheet, you might find things like trade payables. No? Yung supplier natin, okay, this guy here is our supplier. He is providing us the items without charging immediately. Sabi niya, okay, after 20 days, saka mo na lang bayaran. Okay? So if you're going to account for that, the cash is not going to be paid until day 20. Okay? We call that the cash conversion cycle. Okay, from cash outflow to cash inflow, we call that the cash conversion cycle. You may refer to that lecture again later on. As a result, when we refer to those things that move on a regular basis, day-to-day basis, we call it working capital. Okay? What does working capital pertain to? Working capital pertains to those items that move on a day-to-day basis. Working capital. Okay? Working capital are usually the current assets and the current liabilities. But there are exceptions to that. Anyway, that is what we mean by working capital. Okay? Bibili kayo, tapos yung bibilhin nyo, ibebenta nyo. Okay? May hawak kayong inventory, tapos nung binenta nyo yung inventory, naging receivable siya. Nung receivable siya, hindi nyo pa na-collect, darating yung panahon, mako-collect nyo siya. Magiging cash siya ulit. Okay? We call that the operating cycle. But if you will start from the day that you will pay the inventory, kailan mo babayaran yung inventory? Doon mo uumpisahan yung counting ng days. You call that the cash conversion cycle. Anyway, things that move on this day-to-day basis, we call it working capital. Okay? Now, there are assets which remain with us for a longer period of time, more than the operating cycle. We call that fixed assets. In accounting, we call this property, plant, and equipment. In accounting, we call this property, plant, and equipment. Yun yung tawag natin sa accounting. Okay? So, iba yung working capital sa fixed assets. Okay? Yung working capital na assets dito, ito yung mga gumagalaw araw-araw. Fixed assets, nandyan lang. Okay tayo? So, we know what the meaning of capital is, working capital, and fixed assets. Okay? So, capital structure is the combination of debt and owner's equity. Working capital refers to the items that fluctuate on a day-to-day basis. Fixed assets remain with us for a longer period of time, more than the operating cycle. Any questions in the balance sheet? Any questions in the balance sheet? Anyone? Okay? So is everything clear, huh? Sige, again, interrupt me anytime if you have any questions. Income statement. The income statement focuses on the company's revenues and expenses during a particular period. Okay? Unlike the balance sheet, which is a snapshot, which is a snapshot for year-end, the income statement refers to the entire period. If we're talking about year, what happened during the entire year? Hindi lang yung year-end, kundi yung buong taon. Income statement focuses on the company's revenues, expenses during the year, a particular period. Not only at year-end, but we're counting everything from the beginning until the end of the year. Okay? For a particular period. So a popular income statement would look like this. At least this is simplified. So if we are in a manufacturing or a merchandising company, we have sales revenue, an amount, minus cost of sales or cost of goods sold. Deduct, you will arrive at the gross profit. Okay? Gross profit is sales revenue minus cost of sales. Okay? We call that gross profit. Minus selling and admin expenses. Okay, ito yung mga gastusin sa office. Ito yung mga gastusin sa distribution. Selling and admin expenses. You will have your operating profit. Minus interest expenses. Kung meron kang inutang, magbabayad ka ng interest, you will have your net income before tax. And then minus your income taxes, you will have your net income. Or, to be more specific, net income after tax. Okay, about the income statement. Is the income statement for you, can you easily comprehend the income statement? Or nahihirapan kayo kung ano ibig sabihin yan? Okay, clear naman daw para sa kanya. Okay lang yung income statement. Okay, so again, when we talk about the income statement, we refer to the revenues and expenses, including gains and losses. Ha? So income and expenses, kasama na rin dyan yung gains, losses. Yung mga hindi laging nangyayari. Okay? So sales revenue, ito yung benta mo. Minus cost of sales. How much did you spend for the products? No? How much did you spend for the products? Products pa lang, ha? So, delivery papunta sa'yo, tapos kung manufacturing ka, ano yung mga raw materials, labor na ginastos mo. Sales minus the cost of goods sold is your gross profit. Then deduct all your admin expenses, yung sahod ng secretary mo, sahod ng manager, and then selling expenses, distribution to the customers. Okay? You will have your operating profit. You have debt, interest expense should be deducted from here, net income before taxes. And then income tax, pay your income tax and you have net income. or more accurately, net income after tax. Okay? Statement of cash flows. Statement of cash flows. The statement of cash flows summarizes the amount of cash and cash equivalents entering and leaving a company. Again, it summarizes the amount of cash and cash equivalents entering and leaving a company. It measures how well a company manages its cash position, meaning how well the company generates cash to pay its debt obligation and fund its operating expenses. Okay? So, speaking of statement of cash flows versus the income statement, have you already encountered the words accrual method? Okay? Have you encountered the words accrual method? Everyone, please answer. Accrual method. Okay. So, no need to elaborate on that. Accrual method. When we say sales revenue, not all of this is necessarily collected. Pwedeng may binenta ka na, hindi mo pa na-collect yung pera. It is already counted as sales. Because in the case of merchandising, the general rule is that the transfer of ownership happens at delivery. When you deliver the item to the customer, you already have sales. Kung hindi pa siya bayad, okay lang. As long as it's reasonable to assume it will be collected. Okay? Sales revenue. Now, the statement of cash flows, on the other hand, it will count the inflow when cash is already collected. While income statement is based on the accrual method, meaning to say, kahit wala pang collection, basta earned na yung revenue, there's already a revenue. The statement of cash flows follow the pattern of cash inflows and outflows. Okay? So, tinitingnan natin dito yung galaw ng cash. Hindi necessarily equal sa accrual method. Okay? So, we're talking about the timing of cash and cash equivalents entering and leaving a company. Okay? Now, if there is cash movement, okay, the statement of cash flows, by the way, is pertaining to the decrease and increase in cash. No? It pertains to the decrease and increase in cash. If there's a movement, whether upward or downward movement of cash, because of inventory, accounts receivable, and trade payable, those movements are said to come from operating activities. Okay? Bumili ka ng inventory, nabenta mo, na-collect mo. Okay? Any cash movement from those activities are said to come from operating activities. Okay? Cash flows from operating activities. Now, what if there is a movement of cash because you bought a new equipment? Or there's a movement in cash because you sold an old equipment? They are said to be cash flows from investing activities. Okay? So, pag galaw niya ay sa working capital, operating activities yung cash flow na yon. Pag yung gumalaw yung fixed assets, it is said to come from investing activities. If what was moved is the capital structure, nangutang ka, cash inflow, nagbayad ka ng utang, cash outflow, kumuha ka ng pera sa owners, cash inflow, nagbayad ka ng distribution, ng dividends, cash outflow. So inflow, outflow, due to the capital sources, we call these cash flows from financing activities. Cash flows from financing activities. Okay ba tayo doon? Okay? So yun yung statement of cash flows. So cash flows from operating activities, investing activities, financing activities, it should tie up with the net increase or decrease in cash. it should tie up with the net increase or decrease in cash. Okay? So, may I know what your questions are? May I know what your questions are? Yung merchandise, ano po siya na makikita? You mean the inventory? Merchandise inventory? Yeah, it's in the balance sheet. Okay. Ito yun ha. Ito yan. Ito yung inventory. Merchandise inventory. The recording will be posted. The recording will be posted. Yeah, I will. Hindi ko pa nagawa yung isang session, no? Yeah, but I will. Including this one. Basta ni-record ko, if I recorded it, it means it will be posted. Okay, so don't worry about the notes. This will be uploaded. Okay? So YouTube channel ko naman, no? Nakapunta naman kayo na doon. Anyway, do you have any questions pertaining to the concepts here? Clarifications? Okay, wala kayong clarifications? Is it really that clear? Okay. So if you have no clarifications, then we shall now go to my video recordings on financial statement analysis. So I may now stop recording here. Titigil na ako ha.